All right, so it's an Olympic year. That means a lot of things. There's a lot of gamesmanship, a lot of political maneuvering that happens in the year of the Olympic Games. And as you may have heard, Arike Agumbawale removed herself from the mix. Oh yeah, rubbing my hands together right now. Let me give you a little inside scoop on what happens when teams are being selected for the Olympic basketball squad. Let's go.
Turn that volume up. You know you want it. It's time for Women's Basketball TV. With former NCAA champion, WNBA champion, business mogul, and national TV personality, Fran Harris.
A'ja Wilson is a generational talent. We have no one like her in the WNBA.
Bringing you entertaining, on-point analysis.
Did LSU just win the national championship?
Tea and inside scoop on the sport you love.
NIL is going crazy. All I'm saying is if they're making $5 million as a student athlete, can't they pay for their own college? I mean, I'm just asking. It's just a question.
Let's get it.
All right, so we're getting ready to go inside a place most people will never get to go. You have never gotten a tour, a personal tour inside the Olympic team process for women's basketball. Am I right or wrong? Nod your head. You have never gotten a personal. Oh, yeah, you've read the stuff online, and some of y'all think y'all know what happens, and some of y'all got opinions about what happens, but you've never been given a tour of the Olympic process over the last, let's say, from 1976 to 2024. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you are in store from. And you know what? Some of y'all are like, well, who's giving us a tour? Who's giving us the tour? Yours truly, of course. Yours truly is giving us the tour. Many of you don't know the history of Fran Harris, and that's okay. I get it. Most people don't know anything about women's basketball that's not happening right now. I get it. I understand. I'm not offended by that one bit. I won't give you my resume, my whole resume right now, but what I will tell you is that I was the final player released from the 1988 Olympic team. They call us alternates. Alternate on the 1988 Olympic team. That means I was the last player not to make the Olympic team. And I wish there was a straightforward process that we could all wrap our brains around and go, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. But I got to tell you, the Olympic process for women's basketball, at least, and from what I hear from men's as well, has never truly made total sense. Now, that means that everybody's never going to be, everybody's never going to be happy. I mean, everybody can't be happy with every decision, right? But the Olympic women's basketball process is one that has been wrought with politics, head-scratching decisions, and outright just nuttiness. So that's my introduction to what I'm about to talk about, and that is why Arike Agumbawale is not on the Olympic team. I hadn't even seen this interview that Arike did on Nightcap, Shannon Sharp's Nightcap. You can Google that. You can not Google it. You can just go to YouTube. I saw this like at 11:30, 12 o'clock this morning. I didn't even know she had done this, and I was already going to do this video about the Olympic team because I wanted to talk about Caitlin Clark not making the Olympic team. So we'll just have a good time right now, and I'll break some stuff down to y'all for you. So Arike Agumbawale, who is one of the most electrifying guards in the WNBA right now and has been for the past few seasons, did not make the Olympic team, was not selected for the 2024 Olympic team that will play in Paris later this summer. And I was like, that is a travesty. Like, literally, it is a travesty. So let's just break down the process. Let's break down what happened. Let's break down how you feel about it. I'll tell you how I feel about it. Let's break down by how you feel about it. So number one, I will say the first thing about the Olympic team, it is not a straight process, meaning it's not, you don't just go, this needs to happen, and then you have a player who has this much experience, and then have a player who's and therefore this is why we chose the 12 players we chose. It's not like that. And I'm gonna take you on a little walk. What we're gonna do right now is go back. I'm going to take you on a little walk of 1980 and 1984 and 1988. And there was always this feeling that if you played at certain places, this is number one thing for the thing that we don't understand about the Olympic process, the politics. Back in the day, and still now, it was like, who did you play for? Which coach did you play for? Which program did you play for? Like a player from Georgetown University wasn't going to get near making the Olympic team. You know why? Because that player was probably not going to get invited to USA national team trials. Okay, I'm going to put up a picture of the USA national team trials back in the day when I was in 1984. I made it to the finalists of 24 players as a sophomore. 1988, last player cut from the Olympic team. Okay, alternate on the Olympic team. So part of the reason people couldn't get close to making the Olympic team is because they didn't go to the right school. And I don't mean they didn't go to the right school as far as I'm concerned. It's like the USA national team trials were full of players who came from elite programs. Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, Old Dominion, okay? Georgia. You couldn't get close to it. And there would be 200 of us who would come to Colorado Springs. 200. I'm not exaggerating. And then they would have cuts over the course of 4 days. It's your girl, Fran Harris, former WNBA champion with the Houston Comets. It is finally here. Yes, the first novel set in the world of the WNBA. And it's got all the good stuff. It's got love, romance, true crime, forgiveness, redemption, all the stuff you love to see in great novels. If you love Terry McMillan and Waiting to Exhale, if you love Eric Jerome Dickey and all his madness, then you will love Houston by Morning. It's a story of 4 characters, a baller, an agent, a television personality, and a coach. And the way their lives collide into one another is a beautiful mess. Pick up a copy now on Amazon Kindle or at HoustonByMorning.com. Peace! So you play, compete. It was so much fun. Compete. Every day, check this out, y'all. Every day, you would walk to a wall, legit. I'm going to put this in a future movie or documentary. You walk to a wall, just like I've seen in some sports movies. They would have a list of players' names. Oh, no, not even names. A list of numbers, because we all wore jerseys that had numbers on them, right? 264, 494, 32. So if your number was not up there, you were cut. There was no conversation. You just went up to the wall, scanned with your eyes. Oh, thank God. If your number was up there. And it was both exhilarating and also nerve-wracking. So that's how the trials went. And if you were not on a great team, so let's say you played at a smaller school, but you were a baller, you averaged 50 points a game or something like that, you might get invited. But for the most part, the invitations went to legit the top 200, top 100 players, based on where they played at school, who they played for. Yeah, that meant that your coach mattered. Oh, yeah, it meant that who you played for mattered. Let's move on to number 2. Who did you play for? I'm going to keep it a buck all day, all long. Okay? Did you play for my coach, Jody Conrad? Did you play for Pat Summitt? Did you play for Marianne Stanley? Did you play for Sue Gunner? Did you play for Fran Garman? Did you play for Leon Barmore? Did you play for Sonia Hogue? Did you play for... Oh, yeah. These are all the old school coaches. If you played for one of those coaches, you were probably on one of the most successful teams in the history of women's basketball. You were getting an invite. Oh, but it went deeper. Oh, yeah, there was a lot of deal making going on. Most people won't say this. Most people won't say this out loud. But there's a lot of deal making. People call that politics. Now there's a lot of deal making going on. And absolutely, if you play for certain coaches, you were ranked higher. You got more consideration. Was that fair to players who played for Delaware State or Mississippi State back in the day? Probably not. But that's how the system was set up. All the system knew was a criteria where you had to go, okay, what college do they play for? Okay, how'd they finish last year? Do we know this college? What coach did they play for? Because remember, some of these coaches were on the committee. Oh, yeah. Your coach could actually be on the committee back in the day. So imagine the deal making, the politics, the under the table stuff that happened back in the day and still happens. So that's number 2. Who did you play for? Number 3, how much experience do you have playing in the USA national team system? Remember, if you didn't play for the right school, if you weren't a baller, if nobody knew who you were and you didn't play for the right coach, you probably don't have a whole lot of points on your side when it comes to how much experience you have. And back in the day, there were only so many teams. So think about it. We started out in the system of called the sports festival. That was the young players. So for the sports festival, when I was a freshman coming out the spring of my freshman year, my sports festival team was Teresa Edwards, Lisa O'Connor, Cammie Etheridge, Fran Harris. I mean, ballers, right? Y'all know who Teresa Edwards is, right? 5-time Olympians. That was our squad. Those were the starters, actually, for our sports fest team. Right? That was the kind of the farm system for the national team, but there weren't that many opportunities. Like today, there's tons of teams that players can play for. But back then in the summer, you were going to play the sports fest, and then you had the more veteran farm systems at USA national team. So then other things started to come into play. You could play in a team that toured Spain, or I played on a team that toured Taiwan. This is giving you an opportunity, and the USA national team committee an opportunity to see what you're like in international play. Okay, so what did we talk about? We talked about the college you went to, the coach you played for, USA national team experience. And if you didn't, back in the day, if you didn't have any of that, you weren't making the Olympic team. They didn't just out of the blue put people on the Olympic team. They looked at those things I just said, and if you had some experience and all that, then you got a nod potentially. Oh, but when it came time to talk about that Olympic team, it got extremely competitive. Hey, if you haven't had a chance to pick up your baller t-shirt, this is a special edition t-shirt that we launched this season of the WNBA. It comes in all sizes, comes in a few different colors. Be sure to click the link and check it out right now. Pick yours up, and we'll see you soon. So now you got not just the players being competitive, you got coaches being competitive. They want to get their players on the team. And I'm going to keep it a buck all the way. Some coaches have more pull than others. I just want you to take a look at those Olympic team squads between 1976 and 1996, maybe. A lot of Tennessee players. Not saying they didn't deserve it. A lot of Tennessee players in the mix. The guard changed. What happened? Connecticut. Gino Auriemma started putting... Like, I thought it was a Connecticut national team. Hey, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to believe me. Just go look. Go look. And you can see the coaches that had the most pull, as we used to say back in the day, that had the most influence. Because some of the selections that were made on the Olympic team made absolutely no freaking sense. Unless you look at the programs they came from and the coaches they played for. I'm going to keep it a buck always. Always. So when Arike says it's political, like deals are being made, so that tells me, hey, USA Basketball's still doing the same stuff they were doing back in the day. And I wish there was a more direct system in place. I wish there was a more transparent system in place. But these are the breaks. These are the ABCs of USA Basketball. So when we hear Cheryl Reeves say, she has no experience with Caitlin Clark, this is what she means. Like, Caitlin Clark just dropped off, the NCAA face of the earth. She has relatively no USA national experience at the highest level. Please hear the sentence, at the highest level. What that means is that we spent our summers playing with each other. It's different now. We literally, from the time I was 18 years old till, my Olympic year in 88, I was playing with these women all summer. Cheryl Miller, Katrina McClain, Ann Donovan. I mean, we played together all summer. So when Caitlin Clark didn't make the Olympic team, first of all, none of us were shocked. That's not how it works, y'all. You don't get to be what you were in college with no system, with no USA national team system experience, and we just drop you on the Olympic team. It doesn't work that way. So wasn't shocked at all that Caitlin wasn't on it. Caitlin has many opportunities to be on Olympic teams, and I would have been very disappointed in our USA national team system procedures and process had Caitlin Clark been dropped on the USA national team simply because she was a sensation in NCAA college women's basketball. Then that would have voided all of the work that everybody else has done to put themselves in position to be an Olympian, to be a national team member. Will Caitlin Clark ultimately be on an Olympic team? I would say probably. But again, it's a competition, y'all. That's the thing. It's not a popularity contest. It never has been. It's a competition. And even more so now, it's a competition than it was when I played back in the day. So there you have it. Unveiled the USA national team Olympic team process. What y'all think about that? Fair, not fair? What are some of the things that USA national team can do to make it more equitable so that some of your favorite players might be able to get into the mix? Let me know in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Women's Basketball TV with Fran Harris, the most provocative and entertaining women's basketball show on earth. Be sure to click that like, share, and notification button so you don't miss a moment. We'll see you tomorrow.